You have never been truly alone. Not once, not for one full day of your life, have you existed without another human within shouting distance, whether you realized it or not. Your body assumes this. Your brain was built around it. So what happens when that assumption breaks? For roughly 300,000 years, being alone wasn't a lifestyle choice. It was a death sentence. Think about that for a second. Right now, you can close a door, put in headphones, and disappear from every other human being for hours, even days, and nothing bad happens to you. Your ancestors never had that option. A person alone in the wild wasn't peaceful. They were prey. Why does solitude feel so heavy sometimes? Why does a quiet apartment on a Friday night sometimes feel worse than a stressful day at work, surrounded by people? The answer isn't in your head, it's in your evolutionary history. Let's start with the numbers. The anthropologist Robin Dunbar spent years studying primate brain size against group size, and he found a striking pattern. The bigger the social group an animal lives in, the bigger the brain region devoted to tracking relationships. For humans, his research points to a rough ceiling of about 150 stable relationships a person can meaningfully track at once. That's now known as Dunbar's number. Here's the important part. That number wasn't a suggestion. It was survival math. A group of 150 or so meant enough hunters, enough gatherers, enough eyes watching for danger, enough hands to help raise a child. A group of one meant none of that. So your ancestors weren't just social because it was fun. They were social because the alternative was starvation, exposure, or being eaten. Richard Lee, an anthropologist who spent the 1960s living among the Juhansi people of the Kalahari Desert, documented exactly how tightly interwoven daily survival was with the group. In his study of their foraging patterns, he found something surprising. Hunter-gatherers in this community spent far fewer hours working each week than the average modern office employee. But almost none of that time was spent alone. Hunting was coordinated, gathering was coordinated. Cooking, childcare, tool repair, all of it happened inside a web of other people, constantly. Now picture it. Reconstruct the scene for a moment. It's late afternoon on the savannah. The sun is dropping low and orange. A small band of people, maybe 20 or 30, moves back toward camp. Some carry roots and dug-up tubers. Others carry the carcass of an animal, shared instantly among everyone the moment it's brought in, because there's no refrigerator, no way to save meat for later, no reason to hoard. Sharing wasn't generosity. It was insurance. Today you feed me. Tomorrow I feed you. At the fire that night, someone starts talking, not about the hunt. The anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied campfire conversation among the Juhansi and found something that surprised even her. During the day, most conversation was practical. Logistics, complaints, negotiations. But at night, around the fire, the tone shifted almost entirely to storytelling, myth, gossip, and humor. Westner argued this wasn't just entertainment. Firelight conversation built the emotional bonds that daytime survival talk couldn't. It's where trust was reinforced. It's where the group remembered who it was. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you sat with a group of people? No phones, no screens, just talking until the fire burned low. Here's the counterintuitive twist. You might assume that ancient humans, constantly surrounded by others, never had a concept of solitude at all. That the modern epidemic of loneliness is a total social media. But that's not quite right either. Solitude did exist for your ancestors. It just looked completely different. A hunter might spend hours alone, tracking an animal, moving silently through brush, reading footprints in dry soil. That was solitude with a purpose and an endpoint. It was temporary, chosen for a task, and it always led back to the group by nightfall. Prolonged, unchosen isolation, the kind many people experience today, living by themselves for months or years, disconnected from any tight-knit group, essentially did not exist for most of human history. It wasn't rare, it was almost unheard of. This is the trap hiding underneath modern life. Agriculture, and later industrialization, food and private property, shelled and private property, all genuinely useful things. But those same innovations quietly untethered people from constant group presence for the first time in the species' history. You could survive alone in a house with food in the fridge. Your ancestors could not survive alone on the savannah. The safety net changed, but your brain didn't get the memo. That's the mirror. Your nervous system still reacts to isolation the way it did 50,000 years ago, treating extended solitude as a low-grade threat signal, even though modern isolation rarely carries the same physical danger it once did. Researchers studying loneliness today have identified that stress responses in the similar to physical danger. Your body still runs ancient software on hardware. Your body still runs ancient software on modern hardware. It doesn't know the difference between no one is around to help me hunt and I haven't left my apartment in 4 days. So what did your ancestors actually do to prevent aloneness? Structurally, on purpose. They built systems for it. Children were raised not just by parents, but by a wide web of aunts, uncles, grandparents, and unrelated adults, a pattern anthropologists call alloparenting. Elders held storytelling roles, specifically to keep younger generations tied into a shared identity. Daily tasks were split up in ways that guaranteed constant contact. Nobody gathered firewood completely alone. Nobody processed food completely alone. The group wasn't just a backdrop to survival. It was the survival mechanism itself. Compare that to a lot of modern life, where independence is treated as the ultimate achievement. Leaving alone, working alone, solving your own problems without asking for help. All praised as maturity, and there's real value in self-reliance. But your ancestors would have found the idea of true independence from a group almost incomprehensible, maybe even a little terrifying, not because they lacked willpower, because it simply wasn't how humans were built to operate. None of this means you need to move into a hunter-gatherer band tomorrow. But it does explain something real. If solitude has ever felt heavier than it should, if a quiet week alone has ever left you feeling strangely unsettled for no clear reason, that's not weakness. That's 300,000 years of evolutionary programming quietly reminding you what your body still believes to be true. You were built for the fire, not the empty room. So maybe the fix isn't complicated. Call someone. Sit across from another human being with no screen between you. Share a meal without reaching for your phone first. It won't undo millennia of biology in one evening. But it will do the one thing your ancestors never had to think twice about doing. It will put you back in the group. Because for 99% of human history, that wasn't a hypothetical. It was survival.